Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Rich Perez welcoming you back into another weekly dose of your rundown. Joining with me, as always, my brother from another, my co-host, all the way from the O, Kayson Davis. How you doing, Kay?
I'm doing great, man. How was your last couple days, last week or so?
Specifically my last day was great. I mean, I know y'all see it right now. Definitely can't complain about that. So I think honestly, just yesterday alone makes up for anything bad that happened to me in the last week. I like can't complain, okay? Can't complain.
I know you was getting a little nervous over there.
Oh yeah. We'll get into it though. That Saturday night was nerve wracking, but we'll definitely get into that one. Let's go ahead and start things off, man. There was some big news today. I think a lot of us kind of expected this to happen. We were just waiting on it to actually happen. Bob Myers, the big orchestrator of what we know as the Golden State Warriors today, has stepped down. The Golden State Warriors will be looking for a new president of basketball operations, as Bob Myers is going to step away, take some time to himself, see where things go from here. You know, the thing that we talked about a lot with this season for the Golden State Warriors, and not just me and you, but I think people as a whole, was that it was the last dance, right? This is kind of, it felt like that. Like after this season was over, there was going to be some big changes on the horizon for this team. Things that kind of ran its course. Guys aren't playing at the same level that they once were. And I feel like for the most part, that was true. Bob Myers stepping down, and I mean, yeah, he stepped down, but I think this is kind of a mutual parting ways kind of thing. If the Warriors wanted Bob Myers to stay there, he would still be there. It kind of signaled to me. It signals the end of this team as we know it, because you know somebody new is going to come in there, and you can, especially with the way like Clay is starting to look a lot older now. Steph still looks very good, but Clay is starting to look older. Draymond, is that somebody that you want to continue working with? I mean, even on his podcast when he was talking about this, he had mentioned, you know, this is obviously before the Bob Myers news. That I hope Bob stays. I hope I'm still there. This is what Draymond's saying. So there's a lot of uncertainties going on. The first domino has fallen though. Bob Myers is out. I've heard the Warriors team owner would like to kind of get his son a bigger role over there, possibly vice president of basketball operations. Kudos to you. Good luck with that. But I think, like I said, big domino here falling. And to me, this kind of signals the end for the Warriors as we know it. Now, what I will say is I think that the plan moving forward with the Golden State Warriors is similar to what the Chicago Bulls wanted to do after the 1998 season, which was kind of change up the roster a bit, but they wanted to build with Michael Jordan. They wanted to keep Michael Jordan as their centerpiece. Now, obviously, that did not happen, but to me, it seems like that's what the Golden State Warriors are aiming for here. They would like to keep Steph Curry in Golden State and possibly make some new moves moving forward. You've got Klay Thompson, who you've got to focus on. Do you want to pay him or not? Draymond Green, same thing. You've got these younger players that maybe you want to start getting them into bigger roles, boosting their confidence. This is what you drafted these guys for. A lot of uncertainties there. But biggest thing here, big domino falling with Bob Myers out. What does it mean for the Golden State Warriors? What does it mean for Bob Myers? I don't think Bob Myers is done as an executive in this league. I expect to hear some news, maybe not this offseason, but in an offseason from now, about something that Bob Myers is looking to do.
Yeah, kind of just what you said. I think the biggest thing now is where does the team go from here? Like you said, the new guy who comes in doesn't have that relationship with Clay and that relationship with Draymond. And obviously, he's seen what this unit has done together. But I think anyone new coming in is going to say, hey, these guys are kind of older. Do we want to give them that type of money right now? And I think maybe with Bob Myers there was more of a given, where it's like, you've done so much for me. Just the relationship was there where it's like something will most likely get worked out. And I think that's something he probably wanted to see he probably would have wanted to see go straight through. And maybe he's getting off. Maybe he sees that this could be the end, and that's why he's aiming to get out of there, or saying like, oh, it's the end. So like I said, it could just be the first domino that falls. But it's interesting because there was reports about the young guys not happy with their playing time in the playoffs, and some of the young guys didn't play great. So I just think for the contracts coming up, that's the biggest thing. Is someone new going to come in and give Draymond $100 million? Is it someone new going to come in and give Clay $150 million? I think there's a lot of things in there that say no, and then the new person may come in and play hardball. So, because those relationships just aren't there. So, we'll see how it goes. Like you said, it could just be the first domino that falls. But even if it is, I don't know how much Curry stays around for like a rebuild situation now at the age of like 35. So, I don't think that's the best move for them moving forward. I think you have him still playing at a high level, and low-key, you still have those other guys. I think we've seen them get beat now, but I don't think anybody would necessarily say if you run it back and tweak a few things, like maybe get a couple more veterans around them, less young guys. That's what I think they need to do, but not add more young guys. And I think you can see them back in the conference finals next year. So I think you kind of maybe let this thing ride out.
I don't know because Clay can still play, but this season, especially this season, and then into this, you saw spurts of Clay kind of looking like his former self, but the majority of the sample size would tell you he's not the same player anymore. He didn't play well in the postseason at all. A lot, like I said, a lot of the regular season, he did not play like the Clay we've been accustomed to. Draymond, they say he's the engine that makes it go, but again, I think Bob Myers leaving kind of puts the writing on the wall for Draymond because, like you said, that relationship factor there. Somebody new coming in is just like, do I really want to deal with, you know, the good and the bad of Draymond, or can I just kind of shape this thing in a new image and whatnot? I think that's something that's definitely on the tables. To me personally, I think that by the time next season starts, this team is going to look a lot different than it did coming into the off season. But that's just me. Like I expect Steve Kerr to be there. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't. I think Curry at least has one more year over there with Curry. You're not trading Steph Curry, so unless Curry's got impending free agency, I don't see him going anywhere either. It really comes down to the other core two guys. Iguodala's retiring. He wasn't able to make it back, which I mean he should retire at this point. He played a long career. He's a lot older now, but I think next season Draymond. I would bet Draymond is on a new team next year. Clay, I think he'll be on a new team, but I'm not certain of that.
Maybe, but like I said, I don't know where you go from here because a rebuild. I don't think a rebuild right now is the right way to go. I also don't think the young players you have right now is the right way to go either, because you've shown there's young players shown that they're just not ready yet, and that's the thing with Clay. I don't even if Clay is not the player he used to be, in a way I don't need him to be. I need Jordan Poole to be the player that he was, because that is, to me, your backup card when one of those guys aren't playing well. That's what Jordan Poole is supposed to come in and fill. That's why him playing so bad this playoffs really kind of hurt them, because he's the one who's supposed to come in and like spill time or really help when one of those other guys aren't playing well, and not having him there. I think him playing well helps Clay a little bit, or at least makes up for what maybe Clay can't do anymore. So this young guy showed that she wasn't ready, and I feel like if you were gonna go this way, the Wiseman trade doesn't make any sense right now. Gary Payton, the second, nice piece. He's young himself, but if you were gonna go all in on a rebuild, you're probably better off with Wiseman for that rebuild. I think Payton Jr. is more of a try to go win a championship type of player, piece, I think Wiseman would have been better for the long haul. So if they do that, the Wiseman trade really doesn't make any sense right now.
It makes sense because this is the Warriors we're talking about. The Warriors at the time are thinking, and I think a lot. They're not the only franchise to think this way. This is a team that's won 4 NBA championships in the last 7 years or 8 years. Um, it's all about we'll do what we got to do now to try and get another one. And if it doesn't work out and things change, then whatever, we took a shot at it. But everything that they did was in the now. We want to go after a championship. It didn't work out that way, and things have to be reassessed. And Myers is also the guy that orchestrated a lot of the things that happened in the season, and he's gone now. So again, you have a whole new look in that front office. At least it might be people that worked in the front office already that are just getting elevated positions, but these are still guys that they're not Bob Myers. They're gonna want to do things a little differently, maybe similar to him, but not exactly the same. So, I mean, what they did was in the now. They were thinking in the moment, how can we win a championship? And things have shifted. We tried it. It is what it is. We're gonna go in this direction now. To me, that's. I'm kind of sold on it. I think that this team is not going to be the same. And I mean, to your point about like guys like Poole, whoever comes in can say, all right, Poole. I'm going to go a couple different ways with this. Whoever comes in can say, all right, Poole looked dejected and not happy and things because he was coming off the bench, not a lot of playing time. You bring him into the starting lineup, maybe we can get the best out of Jordan Poole if we give him a larger role. Maybe we can get the best out of Kuminga if we give him a larger role. And on the same end of it, that hurts those guys because you shouldn't have looked dejected and you shouldn't have took things personal. But I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate here as far as like why somebody would want to get rid of Clay and Draymond and what the justification of it is when it comes to those younger guys.
To me, if you think about it, Stephen Curry is a year removed of a great playoff run and winning Finals MVP. He's not getting younger. I don't think you start a rebuild right now if you want to keep him around. It just doesn't make any sense. You don't start a
Technically, you
rebuild
don't.
with a guy like that at 35.
Technically, I'm with you. I'm not saying you're wrong because you're not wrong. But technically, you could say, especially like Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga are not rookies. Both of them just got extensions. You still have Andrew Wiggins there, who you expect to have back longer term. So now it just leaves Clay and Draymond. I wouldn't call it a rebuild. Like, honestly, to me, even you get rid of Clay and Draymond, and then you insert those guys into the starting lineup. Maybe you want to sign some vets to take over the bench roles that those guys will no longer be fulfilling. This is a team that can still make the postseason even without those two players.
I mean, sure, but that's not a championship team, probably. So that's where it's like, I mean, I guess that's not a full rebuild. You're still making the playoffs, but still, again, you got a guy who's a year removed from a Finals MVP, maybe 34 and up at this time. Just making the playoffs is probably not the best situation for him in his career right now. Like he doesn't want to just make the playoffs.
At this point in Clay and Draymond's careers, with everything that you've seen from those two in the I'll even go the last 2 years because they didn't win a championship because of Klay Thompson last year. Klay Thompson was not the Klay Thompson that we've been accustomed to seeing. He was not to me, at least offensively, he wasn't a difference maker in their championship run last year. Do you think that those two guys move the needle for them for you to say we should pay both of them? Because they're not taking discounts.
Uh, Honestly, like yes, I would feel more comfortable going to a playoff series with those guys than I would with Jordan Poole, Kuminga, and Wiggins. I'd feel way more comfortable with those guys than Wiggins and those guys. So honestly, and if it keeps Stephen Curry happy, then it is what it is. But I believe in those guys more than I believe in Poole starting and Kaminga and those guys in the playoffs. So when it really comes down to it, yeah, I'm taking them over Wiggins and them. Maybe I'm taking them all together versus not having those two and just having the younger guys. Yeah, I feel like the younger guys have shown that they're not ready yet.
All right. I'm not mad at the take. I'm not mad at the take at all. I do really feel like changes are on the horizon for this team, though. Maybe even if it's keeping those two, definitely see some change. This is a
I
you can't downplay how monumental this is of Myers stepping down. I'm not saying you. I'm saying generally.
Yeah, because like I said, like we were saying, he's the one with those relationships. He's the one who kind of put this thing together, and maybe someone who's probably more willing to let this ship just go down together instead of breaking it up and trying to do things like we built it. Let it just go down together and we rebuild after that. But so like you said, someone new will come in there, different mindset. Doesn't think Clay's the same player. Doesn't really have that relationship. And it's like, hey, it makes him more expendable. So the relationships just aren't there, and when relationships aren't there, it's a new person's team, a new person's vision on how he wants the team to go, and those guys might not be a part of it.
Right, 100% right. We do have an NBA Finals that is coming up on Thursday. How did we get there? Well, the Denver Nuggets on the Western Conference side of things took care of business in 4 games against the Los Angeles Lakers. I don't know if I want to say they did it easily because I felt like every game that the Lakers played against the Nuggets was a competitive game. They just weren't good enough. They weren't you didn't have an AD played admirably. I don't agree with anybody saying that he didn't play good enough. He played solid. Was he a superstar? No. But he played solid. LeBron and that game 4 gave you everything that he had at 38 years old, which is wild. I mean, it came down to the last possession of the game where he tried to put a layup that would have, I think, sent it to overtime, and he just couldn't get it done. So, I mean, not going to fault him for that at 38 years old against a team that good. I just think the Lakers weren't good enough. The Nuggets, Jamal Murray's back. You didn't have an answer for Nikola Jokic, really. That just is what it is. They've got to go in and they've got to make some tweaks. D'Angelo Russell is a guy that I thought had solidified his position with the Los Angeles Lakers. He was back and he was going to be there to stay for a while. After that game 4, when you got Kyrie Irving and Trae Young sitting courtside and you're on the bench for the whole fourth quarter, that kind of says something to me. I think now we're going to have to start talking about having a conversation about Kyrie Irving joining the Lakers, which we thought we wouldn't have to have based on what we were seeing. But, I mean, the Nuggets are I want to give an apology to the Denver Nuggets. At no point, even with you guys as the 1 seed, did I take the Denver Nuggets seriously enough to say that they would make the NBA Finals. I mean, my pick was the Clippers. Obviously, injuries played a part in that. But even like when they moved on, like I didn't. I think I picked them to beat Phoenix because Phoenix didn't have enough. But I thought that the Lakers would be able to get past them. I didn't give the Nuggets the credit that they deserved, and that's my fault. My bad. They're here. I mean, I'm rocking all this Heat gear, but obviously the Heat are not favorites, and they're not favored for a reason. We'll kind of break down that matchup towards the end of the show. But yeah, the Western Conference Finals to me was just one team was just better. The Lakers tried and they fought admirably, but they just weren't better than the Nuggets. They weren't good enough.
I think, lucky for you, you're probably not the only person dishing out some apologies to the Nuggets. I I think I tweeted it, so I will say myself I owe the Nuggets an apology. I did not think they would, like you said, even with them being the one seed, I didn't think that they were NBA Finals team. I thought it'd be tough for them to get past the Suns. No one expected Ayton to play like that. Obviously, CP went down. I think if CP doesn't go down, it's a different series. Ayton gets hurt last game, so getting past the Suns, I think they look real impressive there. And then just this Lakers series, it's. I just think it's one of those runs where like when it's your time, it's your time. You think about some of the shots even Jokic was hitting over 80,
Oh yeah.
a 1 foot fader behind your head. Like I think they're clicking at the right time, and maybe they've been clicking all season because they're the one seed. But I think that it's a, it's a very well-rounded team, and I think that's how they get people. They obviously you got those two head monsters at the beginning, but KCP came up big in some of those Suns games. Came up big in some of those Lakers games. Aaron Gordon hit some big shots. Michael Porter Jr. So they hit you in a lot of different ways. But that 1-2 punches at the top was really dangerous. Jamal Murray, I think at the end of game two, going into the beginning of the first half of game three, he was scorching. I think he had 30 points in the first half of game
Yeah.
three. So and then ended. I think he had like maybe 20 something in the fourth quarter of game two. So they haven't lost at home yet. I just think like they're a well-oiled machine right now. They're playing really well. They have home court advantage. They have that 1-2 punch. No one really seems like they can kind of stop Jokic, and he's probably playing some all-world basketball right now, just hitting people in different ways, whether it's jump shots, post ups, passes, just doing all the things that he does. So I thought we all thought that maybe the Lakers figured something out by having AD on the backside, which I said the Lakers should have maybe did, and have Hashimura guarding Jokic. But even they were kind of able to figure that out, and I think Jamal Murray deserves a lot of credit because, like you said, him being back makes a big difference. And if you look at their team, the last time they were healthy, they were in the conference finals too. So I think this team is starting to put people on notice. And like I said, there's a lot of people out there issuing out apologies to them right now.
Yeah. Do you think because I thought Hachimura should have been starting from game two on, and he didn't get to start till game four, which was like the closest game that they had. Do you think like Ham was? Because I mean, Mike Malone came out after game one and was kind of throwing shots where he was like saying, if they want to throw Hachimura in, go ahead. And then Ham didn't do that. Didn't end up putting him in the starting lineup until like game four. You feel like he was kind of overthinking, or did he get intimidated a little bit? Like I thought that was like one of his coaching, really the only coaching decision he made that was questionable to me, because it seemed like the obvious choice. And then when he actually did it, that was the one time where it's like, oh man, like they got a shot to extend this series.
Uh, no, I don't think so. I just think the Nuggets had an answer for everything the Lakers kind of threw at them. I think that, regardless, like Jamal Murray goes off for 20 points in the fourth quarter. That has nothing to do with anyone guarding Jokic. You know that type of thing. Um, he has 30 points in the first half of game three, and then everyone else kind of picks it up a little bit in the second half of that game, and he kind of tailed off after that, but that big first half kind of kept them in the game and was able to have those other people come along in the second half and so much attention being drawn to him. So I think that, like I said, the Nuggets just had an answer for everything that the Lakers thrown at them. So even when they did, because even though he didn't start, they played that lineup a lot to try to stop him. And I think that the Nuggets just had an answer. I think that's kind of when Jamal Murray started cooking and doing different things. So he could have went to it a little earlier. I don't know how much of a difference that really would have made. Maybe his biggest mistake is not benching D'Lo a little earlier. I think Schroeder playing great defense. That's why he started in towards the end of that Warrior series. So I think if D'Lo's not playing well, maybe you go Schroeder who's going to give you defense, energy, be able to hit a couple shots. So maybe that's more of a change that he should have did ahead of time to get more better play out your guards, especially when you got the guard on the other side going for 20 and a quarter and then 30 and a half type of thing. So I think that's maybe the change he should have made a little earlier.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's going to be a heck of a season. You got LeBron dominating the headlines even when he shouldn't be. I think we saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the folks that think LeBron is retiring, I mean, he was 2 days ago. He did another thing, kind of throwing the spit. LeBron is not retiring. LeBron, that was a straight up shot at the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm older. This team ain't enough. Make something happen. That's all that was, and a chance for us to continue to talk about him, even though he's not playing right now. So.
And a lot of people pointed out how it kind of changed the narrative from them getting swept to LeBron retiring, which, it is what it is if he wants to control his narrative. The only thing is it also took away from Carmelo Anthony's retirement type of day.
Oh, it did too. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So that next day, instead of everyone talking about Carmelo Anthony retiring and him getting his praise and his love, the conversation was shifted off to that to it's LeBron going to retire. So if he wants to get the narrative off him being swept, I love it. Wasn't a big fan of how it kind of took away from Melo and getting maybe a little more love that he deserved.
I'll tell you what, if Melo doesn't announce his retirement, I bet you LeBron doesn't even make those comments. I don't even think LeBron had that idea until it came out that Melo was retiring. So, I mean, that's just another thing right there.
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking the exact same thing. So, hey, man, shout out to Carmelo, man. Hell of a career. Obviously, Syracuse legend. We're big Syracuse fans over here, man. One of the greatest scorers of all time. Hey, Knicks legend. Hopefully him and Denver can work out whatever they got going on. Or I think it's time for the Nuggets to get over that, especially with like the way things go now. Like a lot of players leave and this and that. And honestly, they're in the finals now. They're a better team
Because of him.
Leaving, yeah.
Because of him.
Him leaving was probably best for both sides. You're in the finals now. That's the past. He's retired. Let the past be the past. You guys kind of move on from there. So hopefully they can work that out. Maybe get him to a finals game so he can get the love that he deserves. But man, hell of a career, man. Shout out to Carmelo, man. Syracuse legend.
Yeah, I mean, like your two-time MVP was drafted in the second round with one of the picks you acquired from the Knicks for Carmelo Anthony. So I mean, just that alone, like you're gonna say tip your hat to him, say thank you, because we wouldn't have this Hall of Fame player if it wasn't for you.
They wouldn't have Jamal Murray either. That Jamal Murray pick was the Knicks pick, or they were able to swap with the Knicks that year. So
yep.
They wouldn't have both of their star players.
Yeah, literally, you would not be the team that you are without that happening. I mean, I want to take a chance to give Melo his flowers too. We didn't get to do the show last week, but this is something that's been on my mind since he retired. People forget because of how his career went after that second year in New York, just how great of a player Carmelo Anthony was. Number one, if the Pistons do the right thing and they draft Carmelo Anthony second overall, Carmelo Anthony is a champion in this league. Like, no question about it. And instead of us talking about LeBron chasing Michael Jordan, we'd be talking about Carmelo. There's so many ways that you can go with what Carmelo Anthony's career would have been if he was drafted by the Detroit Pistons. But that aside, this man went to a conference finals with the Denver Nuggets against the late, great Kobe Bryant, held his own. He could score at will. I implore anybody that has a negative opinion about Carmelo Anthony as a basketball player So go look up his Go look up not even the Knicks, and he's got some great Knicks highlights. Go look up his Denver Nuggets highlights. This dude could do anything he wanted. I forgot who it was that was talking about his scoring ability. It was just like you had to double him because he can get a bucket whenever he wanted. He dominated the paint. He had a great mid-range jumper, great jumper, all around great player. That's why he's going to go to the Hall of Fame in a couple of years. And I mean, just remind yourself of how great of a player Carmelo Anthony was. Even you want to talk about the pros? Go to Syracuse when he won a championship at Syracuse. Go watch that. Go watch that run. Like people forget just there's nothing wrong with having a recency bias, but today in society it's like we hold so much of a recency bias that we forget just how great some of these guys were.
Yeah, for sure. I think even look. I think Melo still had a few more years in him, man. I think
Yeah.
he could have played. Even if you look at that Lakers season, the Lakers season was terrible, but Melo did not play bad. So the nature of the beast of the NBA. But yeah, man, like you said, man, one of the greatest scorers. Like you said, if you know, you know. If not, go do your research, man. Even with the recency bias, man, that has still a hell of a player, man. His time in Portland, when he came in there and helped those guys do what they did. His time with the Lakers, like I was just saying. I think New York, that big market, it's easy to find someone to blame. I think Phil Jackson didn't maybe do his best part over there. So there's a lot of things that just didn't go his way, like you said. The Pistons not taking him at 2. You go over to Denver, play with some talent. Was finally able to, like you said, make that conference final run. Went up really toe to toe with Carmelo Anthony. I'm talking about guarding him, uh, getting buckets on the other end. So I advise anyone to go back and just watch the highlights from that series of those two guys going back and forth. Obviously, you know what he did with Team USA. Maybe one of the greatest Olympic players ever. A couple gold medals. So just overall, like basketball, you can say he's done it everywhere and anywhere at any level that he was able to score. Just his footwork from high post, mid post, jab steps, fadeaways, jab into a spin move, you know, and then just his physicality and his ability to kind of go up there and his first jump to go up there, bounce, bump a player, maybe miss the shot, go up and get a rebound and right back up. So just a all-world scorer, man. Probably something that we've never seen before. Just the way that he did it, and at his height and his size and his physicality. So man, like I said, one of the greats, top 10 scorer of all time. Didn't get the ring, but man, that doesn't take away from how great of a player he is. Man, it's a team sport. Not everyone's gonna get a ring. Not everyone's in great organizations. Not like people say to win a championship, it takes a lot of luck. Not everyone's gonna have that type of luck.
It's hard.
You can't take away from nobody's greatness from there. So, and clutch, a super clutch player, man. Go back. There's probably hours of highlights of
Buzzer
clutch shots
beaters. Oh my
yeah,
God.
clutch shots that he's hit. Man, over Braun. I still remember the one in Cleveland like it was yesterday. I can tell you where I was at and what I was doing. So man, hell of a career, man. Shout out to Carmelo, one of the real ones.
Yeah, man. People just gotta cut that out too. Like, why the biggest reason why the NBA has become what it's become as far as all this player movement is because we've invalidated players if they don't win a ring. Like, why then you get mad when guys start chasing it and start going to these teams and things like that. Like, you can't. I don't care what KD says. I don't care what anybody says. I don't think it's very hard for me to believe that Kevin Durant goes to a Golden State if we're not having conversations like that. Well, he's not a great player because he never won it, and that's the like some people will try to do it with Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley is a Hall of Famer for a reason. He was a great player. Carmelo Anthony is going to the Hall of Fame because he was a great player. Yeah, he couldn't get it. The biggest thing you said is it's a team sport. I mean, yeah, you can blame Phil Jackson. Absolutely, Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson was a terrible executive, great coach, terrible executive. But I mean, even before Phil got there, I've always said it. I've said it multiple times on this show. If the Knicks don't blow up that team, Carmelo Anthony is leading them to the playoffs. They could have went on runs if they just kept that team together. I'm not saying they would have won a championship, but that could have been a lot. That could have been a lot of success Carmelo Anthony's way. That maybe like I said, the people that tend to forget just how great of a player he was. That doesn't stuff like that doesn't happen. So I mean, shout out to Melo. Can't wait in a couple of years for the Hall of Fame induction. When this show's over, I'm probably gonna be watching some Melo highlights, especially man, I had Melo's Denver Nuggets jersey back in '06. Melo's a problem. Then Denver better have two in 20 years. There better be 2 15 jerseys retired, not one, because like I said, Melo did a lot of great things for the Denver organization, and y'all ain't the team. Y'all don't have a Nikola Jokic or Jamal Murray without Carmelo Anthony. So shout out to Melo.
Shout out to Mel.
Other side of things, man, we got the Eastern Conference Finals that just wrapped up. Okay, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty at all. I mean, we started off with this 8 seed story, the Miami Heat going up 3-0 on the 2 seed Boston Celtics. And I thought it's been the weird postseason, especially these conference finals. You had both conference finals up 3-0. And it's like, all right, we're getting the Nuggets swept. All right, so tomorrow then the Heat are gonna sweep, and we gotta wait. That's one of the reasons why we didn't even do this show, because we didn't think we were gonna have basketball for a whole week. And then I don't know what in the world was going on that Boston found like a second wind, and they were able to get 3 straight. Some poor playing things going on, and oh man, it was a whirlwind of things after Game 3 on Boston's way. But ultimately, the Miami Heat are able to overcome in Game 7. Greatest thing in sports, greatest 2 words in sports, Game 7. Miami Heat takes it to move on to the NBA Finals. There's a lot of ways to go here, man. One thing that stuck out to me is since this time last year, 2022, the Miami Heat as a whole had been calling their shot. Jimmy had come out and he said, we're going to be back here in the same exact situation, and we're going to have enough. We're going to get it done. Eric Spoelstra, being the perfect coach that he is, when you go back to that Saturday loss, that Game 6 loss, Derek White gets that shot off with 0.2 seconds left. 0.2, he gets it out of his hands, the putback with 0.2 seconds left. That is demoralizing. You looking at that thing like it's over. I was saying it was over because to lose that way, that like just rips your heart out. And Spoelstra was like cool as a cucumber when he was up there. He said, I don't know how we're going to get it done, but we're going to get it done. Like, we're going to be okay. We got this. And his players took his lead. Like, they just followed through with it, said it's all good. Jimmy, again, we're going to win. We're going to figure it out. We are going to win in Boston. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, but it kind of goes into this Heat culture thing, right? Where what the coach has instilled, and Pat Riley, and all through the years, Alonzo Mourning, Dwayne Wade, can't forget Udonis Haslem, who's been a staple there. And we just talked about Carmelo Anthony and forgetting how great of a player he was. UD's not going to go to the Hall of Fame, but people forget how good of a player UD was because of the role that he's taken with the Miami Heat the last couple of years. UD was serving people on the court back in the day. He was vital in all 3 of the Heat's championships. He was a starter. Not even just that. He was a starter on those teams too. So, I mean, you got all that going for you. Jason Tatum had one of the biggest reasons why I said the Heat had a chance is because Jason Tatum is very inconsistent. Now, last night, he was a shell of himself because of that ankle injury that he sustained. He tried to play with it, but was a little too much for him, and then Jaylen Brown turned the ball over way too much. But ultimately, the Heat get it done in seven. They got a tough, tall task coming up on Thursday, and we'll see how that goes. But I mean, it was a roller coaster of emotions if you're a Heat fan like me, and I mean, I guess if you're an NBA fan, shout out to the Celtics for being able to extend the TNT broadcast all 7 games. And yeah, man.
Yeah, the Heat came out playing Heat basketball those first 3 games, man. I think they were just playing harder than the Celtics out toughing them and things like that. I think if you look at the teams on paper, and even if you look at the last game 4 to game 6, you can see that the Celtics are maybe the more talented team, but and you can see the first 3 games that the Heat are just more of a hard working team. So I think the Celtics have been an up and down team all season, all playoffs. Even take it back to last year's playoffs. For some reason, they just have these moments where they just like hit a low. Even in the Philly series, uh, they were down 3-2 with a game in Philly and Loki down in that fourth quarter in Game 6. So they've always been like that, and I think eventually that comes back to bite you. I think they kind of have these mental lapses where maybe they take a break or they're just not taking things as seriously because they're so talented that they think they can maybe cruise through things. And I think that is what came back to bite them. Obviously, Tatum got hurt in that Game 7, but after being down 3-0, their backs were against the wall, and I think that was like the wake-up call that they needed. So they started playing a little harder. And I don't know what happened to Jimmy and Bam for like 2 of those games, like Game 4 and 5, and even most of Game 6. But if you think about it, they kind of reverted back to who they were towards the end of that Game 6. They're up, like maybe 10. He go to that zone in the last 3 minutes, able to make a comeback, and then obviously Jimmy hits the 3 free throws, and really everything went right for them on that last play, where it's like they low-key, this series low-key should have been over in 6, even with like how well they ended up playing those last couple games. Like it should have really been over in 6. Like everything had to go perfectly with the way it did. Like you play that 1,000 more times, that probably doesn't happen. The ball bounces the other way. The ball bounces a little higher for a second. Anything could have happened. So, and then, like I said, I think them just those eventually lacking like that can catch up with you. And I think the Heat were just ready for that Game 7, and the Celtics kind of maybe like bit themselves, just kind of playing around too much.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem with the Celtics. Like you're saying, they like they for a while now they put themselves in these situations. It's like, all right, now we're in an elimination game. We're gonna turn it up now. Why do you have to put yourself in danger for you to have to play at your best? That's not a recipe for success. There's a reason why no team has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit. And the biggest thing, I want to give a shout out to my guy Dante, uh, who we were watching Game 6 together, and his biggest thing was, this is a game of stamina. Biggest thing, like who has the energy to keep it going when it's late. Like even the Heat post, or not the Heat, it was Bleacher Report posted this great graphic when it said records break when you don't. And the Heat, they weren't going. I mean, I guess they kind of broke a record as this 8 seed story, but they weren't going to break. They weren't going to. They weren't going to let that happen. And I think on the Celtics end, they spent so much energy trying to come back from down 3-0 that, yeah, Tatum got hurt. But I mean, they didn't really have it in Game 7 because they put in so much work Games 4, 5, and 6 just to get to a Game 7.
Right. I think, and Tatum, like I said, Tatum getting hurt kind of changed a lot. I don't really know what happened with Jaylen Brown in that game. He seems to kind of just kind of just not have it. And then the Celtics have like we were talking about, they just have these mental lapses. I think they took a lot of threes last night, kind of unwarranted threes. You look at them, they were kind of just chucking up threes. They wasn't hitting, and no one kind of decided like, hey, maybe we should start attacking the basket or maybe doing something different. Uh, the Heat played a good zone and maybe forced them into some of those shots. But I think if you look at game 4, 5, and a little bit of 6, they were hitting those threes. In game 7, they wasn't hitting them. So it's one of those like live by the three, die by the three type of things, and they wasn't really hitting them, and they had nothing going in their offense.
Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I said that the biggest thing to me in this series is going to be coaching. Eventually, Joe Mazzulla, I believe, will be a great coach. But I didn't agree with them giving him that extension back in November. Yeah, they were playing great, but that's not. You should have let it play out. The Brad Stevens did a little too much there, just saying this is our guy. We're going to continue with him. The Celtics, they dropped. They were one of the better defensive teams in the league last year under Ime Udoka. That wasn't the case this year. And then poor decision making. I mean, we saw it throughout the whole playoffs. Philly was a big one. Like, you see these teams going on runs. You should be calling a timeout to kind of compose the guys and start coming up with different schemes and things like that. That wasn't happening. He was continuing to let the runs go. And then, I mean, even that's the first. You call timeout, and the first thing you're saying is we need to attack the basket more. We got to get to the basket more. Like, people fail to realize, they think because these are grown men and they're professionals that they don't need coaching. Like, Kyrie Irving looked like a fool saying that already when he was in Brooklyn. No disrespect to Kyrie, just is what it is. But like, sports, no matter what the age level is, sports are always going to be sports at the core. Everybody has a job to do, everybody has a role. Even as a professional, you need a solid coach to be successful. I can't even think of a championship team in the history of the NBA where I could say their coach, they won because of the players, not because the coach was solid. Like, players got to be on point, but coaching is a big reason for winning championships as well. And it's why the Heat are going to the NBA Finals.
Right, right, and yeah, there's a lot of things there. Obviously, we knew Spoelstra was gonna probably be the better coach here. I just think the Celtics, like, and I think Charles Barkley said this on TV. Well, he did say this on TV. He said the coaching is usually the star players don't need to be coached as much. It's the other guys where like great coaching comes in handy of putting those guys in the right spots and at the right times. And you can get to the point where like the Celtics should have knew what they were doing. But like I said, I just think that they were hitting before, and you look at that game, like I said, 4, 5, and 6, they were like hitting threes, and I guess they thought eventually they'll keep hitting. But like I said, it's one of those like live by the three, die by the threes, and that just seemed like the type of mentality or attitude that they had, that they were kind of just living with it or dying with it. And maybe those couple games before that where they were hitting, they felt like they still had it, but like I said, eventually maybe the coach has to call a timeout and go, hey, we're not hitting right now. Just go see the ball go through the rim, get an easy one, get to the free throw line, and then see if the threes start going. So, but okay, I think people have been on him a lot, and I kind of feel bad for him in this way because since he got the job, he's basically been compared to like what happened last year, which is maybe like a little slightly unfair to him. Obviously, different coaches, different situations. There wasn't as much scrutiny last year that was coming into this year, just with how he got the job and everything that happened there. So I think all in all, man, he didn't do a bad job with it. They still got to the conference finals. They still obviously
Yeah.
could have did some things better. This is his first year, but it's just a learning process. I just think he's not Ime Udoka. He's a different type of coach. So we'll see what they end up doing forward. But I just think people have been on him a lot. Like everything is like, oh, he's not Ime Udoka. He's not him. He's not this. He has to do this better. And I feel like people attacked him more just because of that. But Some of it is well deserved. He should have used his timeouts more. I don't think he was big on using timeouts. I think he wanted to save them maybe just for a challenge or something. So, or advance the ball going forward. So but it's his first year. We'll see what happens with him next year.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm saying I think eventually he will be a great coach. Like I saw spurts of it in the playoffs. So I'm like, all right, there's some good decision making there. And I've never been one to compare him to Ime. I don't like doing stuff like that. Um, my only critiques on him was the decision making, and throughout the playoffs was very poor. Not all the time, but a lot of poor decision making from him that would cost the Celtics games. Like there was definitely games where you're like, you got to put that on coach. And I mean, even he said it too. Like, was it game 3 or game 2 that they got blown out? Yeah, it was game 3. Game 3 when they got blown out by the Heat. And he's just like, I got to do a better job. I didn't have these guys prepared to come in here and battle and things like that. So I mean, eventually, yes, I believe, and even like he's gonna take a lot from this year to learn from, and hopefully we'll see a better version of him the following season. But I mean, you don't just get to the conference finals off of talent alone either. Obviously, they got some talent over there, but he did a good job. They're not. I do believe he deserves some blame, but ultimately they didn't get it done. It was those Jekyll and Hyde Celtics that we're starting to see now. So I mean they got some decisions to make. Ultimately, can we go here for a second? Stop trying to break this team up. I don't are the Celtics better without Jaylen Brown?
Are you asking me, or is that a rhetorical question?
Yeah. Like, are the Celtics better without Jaylen Brown?
I think that all comes down to who you replace him with.
But we're not talking about who we're replacing him with. We're just saying get rid of Jaylen Brown.
Right. No, they're definitely not better just getting rid of him. They're not even better bringing in certain people.
Unless you're,
I think you have a 26-year-old second option that's maybe sometimes better than the first option.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to grow together. I think he's played very well. He's kind of a mismatch at that too because he's like 6'7", 6'8". So I like, no. Could they make a move that might make him a little better? Maybe. But like, especially for the long haul, are they probably better without him? No.
These guys have been to like 5 conference finals together. They've been to an NBA finals together. Why? Like, what are you do? I don't understand a lot of people in the media because this is really where it comes from. It derives from the media of, well, we got to get rid of Jaylen Brown because this just isn't working. Because they lost in the conference finals? I could understand if it was like a Philly situation where you keep losing in the second round or like Toronto. You lost in the majority of the time that these two guys have been together. If they got eliminated in the playoffs, 95% of the time was in the conference finals. What are we doing here, people? There's absolutely no reason to talk about breaking up this team. Like it irks me. I don't understand why we're having these conversations about 2 players who have had success. And it goes back to that conversation of trying to win a championship. Okay, they didn't get it done. That doesn't mean that these guys are still in their early 20s. Paul Pierce didn't win a championship until he was almost 30.
Yeah, because there's 2 sides to that. Because some people would say that, hey, this team maybe played its course. They've been together. We've been in so many conference finals. We haven't got over the hump. We've tried different things. We brought in Kyrie.
But they did,
got rid of Kyrie. We tried Kemba Walker. We've tried multiple different things. And some people would say, like, hey, maybe it's played its course. But then there's also the other side of, hey, these guys are still super young and they're still learning. Like you said, a lot of people don't even win championships this early. So you think about how good they are now in year like 6 and 7. Think about when they're in their prime, closer to their 30s, and they're still together. You think that eventually they get over that hump, and it's one of those things where maybe when they do get over that hump, the ball might just start rolling where it's like, now it may turn into a dynasty type of thing. So that's like the two sides I think of how everybody looks at it.
I don't like the Boston Celtics. I've never liked the Boston Celtics. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum will eventually win a championship together in Boston. I feel very confident in saying that. You don't want to be the ones who end up saying, because we see that all the time when we go back to play like Vince and T-Mac, so many others, Penny and Shaq, so many other tandems that we can go over. It's like, oh man, if they would have just kept them together. That's eventually what's going to happen if the seems like an agenda with people. That seems like eventually that will happen if you try and break this up. It just doesn't make sense. What, like, this is not a conversation.
There also, in a few years, will be a $600 million duo. So I think people factor in the money situation too.
So let him be a $600 duo. Scared money. Your man Sam Presti said it when he got Paul George back. Scared money don't make none. You want to win in this league, you got to spend money. That's how it is. The Warriors. That was what. Oh, do they really want to pay Clay? That's a lot of money to be. Yeah, they do, because they want to keep winning championships. The Cleveland Cavaliers, the second stint with LeBron, they want to keep. Yeah, they do, because they want to keep going to the finals. The Heat, if LeBron would have stayed, Mickey Harrison would have gladly continued to pay those guys, because they want to win. You have to spend money to win in this league.
Yeah, so I think but that's the media doing media things, and I think some of Jaylen Brown's comments, I've maybe played into a little bit. So we'll see how the summer goes. We'll see what the talk is between those guys and within the organization. So hopefully they're on the same page and they're on the right page, and see where they go.
Most def, man. But big shout out to the Miami Heat, Eric Spoelstra, all those guys, man. This is a story of guys that just get it out the mud, if you will. Eric Spoelstra used to be a video coordinator for the Miami Heat. He is now going to his 6th NBA Finals in the last 15 years as the head coach of the Heat. Jimmy Butler wasn't a lottery pick. I think he was the last pick in the first round. He's a star player in this league, making his 2nd NBA Finals. Bam Adebayo was drafted 13th overall. Multiple-time All-Star, top-tier defensive player, making his 2nd trip to the finals. All these guys that are undrafted players Caleb Martin, big story right there. Game 7 hero for this team. Definitely warranted the votes that he got for Eastern Conference Finals MVP. So, I mean, what were you going to say?
As a Heat fan, making this run without Tyler Hero, do you consider maybe exploring other options next season?
You asking me that? You know where I stand on that. Damian Lillard's available. Well, I don't know. We don't know for sure if he's available, but it sounds like he might be available. Tyler Hero is is a conversation starter there. Yeah. I would recommend it. I mean, going back to the regular season, we had a conversation where I said I want him coming off the bench, not because he's a bad player, but because the team just is more fine-tuned when he's coming off the bench. And a big reason why he was starting this year was because he wanted to be a starter. He had said it in interviews. Eventually, he wanted a starting role. It wasn't about the team. It was about Tyler Hero being a starter. He felt like it was time for him to be a starter, and that's great. My whole thing, and I think the Heat's whole thinking of this, based on what we've seen from them, is it's about the team. It's all about the team and what works best for the team. So if what's best for the team is Tyler Hero playing for Portland, then yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, you ready for this? Tyler Hero slated to come back game 3. Tyler Hero should be coming off the bench the entire NBA Finals, however far it goes. You don't want to mess with the chemistry that you've built on this run since he's been out. You don't need Caleb Martin coming off the bench right now in favor of Tyler Hero, who just got back. That's not something I want to see.
Right, I wouldn't start him at all either. That what you said, and also it'll be tough to like throw a guy as a starter in the middle of the NBA Finals like that. Like he hasn't played in a few weeks. Like if they make him a starter in the middle of the NBA Finals, it'd be super tough. He would have to come off the bench for me too.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. Let's go ahead and get into this NBA Finals, though, man. Game 1, Thursday night. Got the Denver Nuggets, first NBA Finals in franchise history, going up against the Miami Heat. You've got, I think, the third and fifth longest tenured coaches in the NBA right now going up against each other, which is a conversation in itself, which we will have another day. I love what the Heat are doing. I love my Miami Heat, and I don't think they're gonna get swept. And would it shock me if they won a championship? No. Do I think they're going to win it? I'm gonna pull one out of your book, Kay. When the facts change, so will my opinion. I'm picking the Denver Nuggets to win this in 6. I think the Denver Nuggets will win this in 6. Unfortunately, close out in Miami. My biggest reason for this is the Joker. I need to see what Spoelstra does there. Like Bam, for all the flack we've been giving Bam Adebayo offensively the last couple of games, defensively he's still been on point. He's still been a top tier defensive player, but he doesn't really have the size to match up with Joker in a 7-game series. So what exactly do you do to navigate that? We didn't see Kevin Love play yesterday. We didn't see him play most of Game 6, and I had no problem with that. I thought Haywood Highsmith was the move based on what he was giving you against the Celtics when you gave him minutes. But I think you're gonna need Kevin Love's size in this series. I could see them maybe thrusting him into the starting lineup, or just making him available in the rotation to kind of make up for what it is that you're gonna do with Joker. But it's gonna remain to be seen what is your answer for the Joker? Because the key to success for the Nuggets is him. They'll win because of him. I think Jimmy can match up fine with Jamal Murray, but how are you going to match up with the Joker? That's the biggest reason why I'm picking Denver here.
Right, I'm actually gonna go Denver too. Like I was saying earlier, I think they're clicking right now, and obviously the Heat are playing well too. But I just think they're really deep, talented, and like you said, the Joker is gonna it's gonna be interesting to see what the Heat do with the Joker. I think Kevin Love was taken out of the starting lineup because the Celtics went small. They started starting Derek White, which led to a lot of mismatches and open threes that they were getting. So I think this is a series where you put Kevin Love back in the starting lineup. And I think in some cases you try to take a page out of the Lakers book where maybe you put Kevin Love on Jokic and have Bam playing the free safety in the back for help and to block a shot and trying to help the paint. So and then I think you play him on him a little bit. So it's gonna be obviously another coaching matchup. I just think that the Nuggets are just a little more talented, and that's why I think that the Nuggets will get it. I actually think I'm gonna say 6-2. I think the Heat are gonna shock us and win Game 1 though. So I got the Heat in Game
that.
1.
Love that.
But I think the Nuggets respond, and I think it's over in 6. So I'll take Nuggets in 6.
Yeah, like the Heat have been overmatched in every series that they played. The Milwaukee Bucks were talent-wise better than them. They play in the second round.
They played the Knicks.
Oh yeah. Let's skip over that one. And the Boston Celtics were top to bottom more talented than they were, but they were still able to get over the hump. So I feel like they're not going to get beat down. They showed us it doesn't matter how how much the odds are stacked against them. They'll compete. So I don't expect it I don't expect there to be any blowouts here. People talking about the ratings matchup. You got one of the greatest postseason players of all time going up against probably the best player in the NBA. How's that a dump on the ratings? Why wouldn't you want to see something like that? But I mean, to me, it's going to come down to that. That is like the only thing that I have like that I'm stuck on is like, what are they gonna do with Jokic? Because everything I go back to is why am I picking the Denver Nuggets to win is him. Because we talked about this every series. It's not enough to just stop him from scoring. The passing ability is what you have to stop as well, and it's easier said than done.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I kind of second everything you say. That's what I said. It's gonna be interesting. And like I said, I see if they take a page out of the Lakers book, and then even Bam plays them 1-on-1 a lot of times. So, but you also want to keep Bam out of foul trouble. So I just think after you get past Bam, though, there's not a lot of great options to put on him. I don't even think Kevin Love's the greatest option either. I just think that allows Bam to bring a lot of help in cases.
Yeah.
So I think you got to keep Bam out of foul trouble because there's not a lot of backup options there. So we'll see what they do, but obviously Spoelstra is a great coach. So he's drawing some stuff up right now as we talk. So we'll see what happens in Game 1, and yeah.
I'll tell you one thing, they'll definitely be motivated. Last time the Miami Heat played the Denver Nuggets, Jokic took a crazy shot on Morris that sent him out for like 2 months. There was a lot of heat, no pun intended, coming his way from like Jimmy Butler, and then you got that famous photo of them waiting for him in the hallway downstairs, and the GM came in. It kind of was like, yo, relax. So I mean, there's definitely gonna be some motivation there. Let's not forget that one, but. I think it's going. If you think that this is going to be a beatdown, I got news for you. You're sadly mistaken. I think it's going to be a good series. We're both picking the Nuggets, but we'll see what happens there. One last thing before we move on here, man. If you are a fight fan, it is boxing has been very good to fight fans lately. I go back to like my dad's era, when all the best guys were fighting each other. And having growing up with Floyd Mayweather was both a gift and a curse. It was a gift because we got a chance to see one of the greatest boxers of all time go to work. It was a curse because he went 50-0. And now everybody wants to go undefeated in their career. How do you do that? You don't fight the best guys. And for a long time, we weren't getting that. We weren't getting the premier boxing matches that we were hoping to always see. I mean, we waited a decade way too late to see Pacquiao Mayweather. Now, you got Devin Haney fighting Vasily Lomachenko, which is a top tier fight. Haney comes out on top. I mean, I didn't think it was a robbery. I thought it was a close fight. You can only call a fight a robbery if it's clearly a robbery. If it's a close fight, you can't call it a robbery because if it's close, it can go either way. But I mean, we got a chance to see that. Now Haney's talking about possibly fighting Tank Davis, maybe Shakur Stevenson, although I think Shakur Stevenson's still got a ways to go. And then now, the biggest one that we have been talking about for what feels like 5 years now, since these two stepped on the scene, was Errol Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford. They finally inked that deal. It is going to happen July 28th, I believe, at the MGM in Vegas. And man, if you're a fight fan, even if you're like a casual fan, these are the two biggest names in boxing right now. You've got both guys on the pound for pound list. This would be what I feel like Spence's last fight at 147 before he moves up. And I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better, man. I implore more boxers to want to seek out challenges like this, challenge yourselves. It's good for you. It's good for the fans. I mean, even the best thing about this fight is there's a rematch clause. So we get, not only do we get to see it finally happen, we're gonna get to see it twice. So I'm excited. You know, we got a connection to Earl Spence because he's got Brentwood roots. We're both from Brentwood. I actually have a small connection to Terrence Crawford too. Back when I lived in Nebraska, he's from Omaha. I know a bunch of people that know him personally. So I mean, I'm giddy either way. I'm excited, and I don't even think anybody's gonna get knocked out. I think that this is a great fight that goes to the cards.
Whew. Cards is tough. I feel like so. I feel like a knockout would be better instead of leaving it in the judges' hands. But yeah, like you said, it's a fight that people want to see. We've talked about it on here for a while now. We've had Meech come on here and talk about it with us a couple of times. So yeah, like you said, giving the fans what they want. Gonna be a big fight in Vegas. I think. Like you said, I'm just happy to see people take the challenge and have these fights. Like you said, since Mayweather, everybody kind of wants to have this undefeated streak, and both of these guys are undefeated right now. So should be a great match, man. I can't wait to see it. Like you said, even like casual fans and diehard boxing fans. This is everything everybody wanted. So it's definitely gonna be a show, and both of them are talking about putting on a show. So it's finally. It seems like it wasn't gonna happen. Maybe contract reasons or whatever. So I don't know what they ended up working out, but it's here now, and I think people should be excited. And let's see what other fights are on that card for the night. That night.
Yeah, man, for sure, for sure. So if you're just maybe just in the fighting period, that's definitely something to look out for. Like I said, July 28th, it's going down. Can't wait to see it. Kay, you got anything else for us before we get out of here?
Nah. It's the finals time. We're gonna crown a champion. We'll talk about that fight more as it gets a little closer. You know, another great episode. Like I always say, appreciate everyone that came in, everyone that stopped in, and can't wait to do it again next week.
For sure, man. Thank you guys very much. And with that, it's Rich, it's Kay, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.